The Diego Sepulveda Adobe is located just 4 miles from the Pacific Ocean in Costa Mesa, California. The Adobe is the second oldest structure still standing in Orange County and the 38th oldest in all of California. The word adobe is Spanish for mud brick, and these bricks are typically made from earth, water, and other organic materials and then sun-dried until hardened. It was the building material of choice in dry climates with little access to timber or stone. The adobe was built on the banks of what is now the Santa Ana River by members of the Tongva tribe near a sprawling Native American settlement called Ganga. The exact construction date of the adobe is unknown, but it is estimated to have been built between 1820 and 1823. Although some historians think it could have been built as early as 1817. It is one of 3 original Spanish adobes built in what is now the city of Costa Mesa, and the only one still standing. Its original purpose was to house ranchers who were hired to look after the San Juan Capistrano Mission's 8,000 heads of cattle. The San Juan Capistrano Mission is one of 21 missions built between 1769 and 1833 in present-day California, stretching from San Diego in the south to Sonoma in the north. The San Juan Capistrano Mission, located approximately 60 miles south of Los Angeles, was founded in 1776. The mission was named after Saint John of Capistrano, who was also called the soldier saint or warrior priest, who lived in 14th century Italy. Today, the San Juan Capistrano Mission is home to the oldest building in California that is still in use. Sarah's Chapel, built in 1782 and named after Juanapero Serra, still offers Mass daily in English, Spanish, and Latin. Historians are not in agreement as to why the Padres chose to graze their cattle more than 20 miles from the mission. But some speculate it all has to do with mustard. Back in those days, the cheapest and easiest to grow spices were onions and mustard. It's been suggested that the Padres planted mustard fields near the mission walls, which were then burned in a wildfire, spreading the seeds as far as the wind would take them, eventually choking out native grass species. The area in which the adobe was built was just beyond the mustard line, as historians called it, where the native grass species were able to hold off the invasive mustard plants. Once the adobe was in use by the ranchers, it was found to be an excellent way station for missionaries traveling the El Camino Real, the road that linked the missions, forts, and churches. It was such a desirable location, in fact, that a few years after its construction, the Padres considered moving the entire San Juan Capistrano mission to the site due to a previous pirate attack by this guy, whose name I cannot pronounce. In 1833, the newly formed government of Mexico nationalized all former Spanish mission lands. The land was then granted to Jose Antonio Yorba and added to his nearby Rancho Santiago de Santa Ana. The rancho's primary purpose was to raise cattle and sheep, and their workforce was generally made up of the Native Americans who had been former mission residents. In 1848, following the Mexican-American War, the area became the territory of the United States of America. In the 1860s, the Adobe and surrounding lands were purchased by Diego Sepulveda, who was the former mayor of the Pueblo of Los Angeles and the man for whom the Adobe is named after. Following a disastrous drought that killed most of his cattle, Diego Sepulveda sold the Adobe to a farmer named Gabe Allen in 1870. By this time, the original mud bricks of the Adobe were beginning to succumb to the elements. To protect them, Allen used wood from a decommissioned Civil War barracks to build a protective structure around the original Adobe and added many rooms to accommodate his large family. This single act is the reason that we still have the Adobe today. After the Civil War, it was common for people to loot old Spanish buildings because of the belief that Spanish gold was hidden in them. Once the Adobe was encased in wood, there was nothing to suggest that it was anything other than a farmhouse. As time passed, all memory of the Adobe was forgotten until 1961, when a fire ripped through the farmhouse, now owned by the Segerstrom family, exposing the mud brick Adobe walls. In 1963, the Segerstrom family donated the structure, along with 5 acres of land, to create Estancia Park. And by 1966, the Adobe had been fully restored by the Costa Mesa Historical Society. While the Adobe is not 100% original in its current form, it does include characteristics of the many owners and moments of time in which it has existed. Today, Estancia Park is part of a 210-acre park, complete with sports fields and a community center. The Diego Sepulveda Adobe has been designated California State Landmark number 227 and can be visited on the first and third Saturdays of each month or by appointment. I'd like to thank the Costa Mesa Historical Society for all the work that they've done in restoring and maintaining the Diego Sepulveda Adobe, and I'd also like to thank them for allowing me to film inside. If you're in town on the first or third Saturday of the month, I highly recommend that you stop by and give the Adobe a visit.